the one, the only Benzion. Good afternoon and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun Benzion. Today's daf is Benzion Gittin, daf Chav Zayin, number 27. The Gemara starts off at the top of the daf. The Mishnah starts off with a Mishnah. The Mishnah says at the end of the Mishnah, the Mishnah talks about you lost a get. You're shliach le'halacha. You're supposed to give a get to the woman. You lost it. If it's a long time, it's lost. You know, for the amount of time that it takes a person to walk by and stop there, it's considered a long time, and you can't use that get. We're concerned. There's other people, right? If shayaros or matsuyos and huksakov, you have two stipulations, right? That buses pass by a lot, and there's other people, and then we know there's other people with your same name who's married to a woman with the same name as yours. So we're choshesh that it might be a get from the other man, so you can't use that get anymore. However, if you find it b'chafisa or b'dluskama, you find it among your belongings. Chafisa is a flask, the Gemara says on Chavchet Amanal. Dluskama is a satchel, a briefcase, a messenger bag, something old people use, immersed. Then it's okay. Imakiro kosher. Now, at the end of these last three words are hard to understand. I mean, they're not hard to understand to me, but it's a machlokes in Rishonim. The Rishonim had difficulty understanding. Yes, Rashi explains imakir kosher is not related to chafisa d'loskama. If you find it in your belongings, in your merce, so in your briefcase, obviously it's yours. Obviously it's the one, right? You're looking all over the house for it, and you find it in your briefcase. It's my briefcase. I know it's my briefcase. Of course, it's the one, the get that I had, not some other get. Even if I lost it for a long amount of time, for 3 days, 4 days, I know it's the right get. Rashi said, Imakiro kosher is adding on something else. Even if the get is not found in your briefcase, it's found on the table, it's found on the floor in your house. But you're makir the get. You have simonim. That's presumably what it means. Because it can't mean tefiyas ayin. Like Gemara says, tefiyas ayin, basically, I recognize subtle hints that it belongs to me, right? Like the paper, it's a little scruffed on the edge, so that's not a simon. It's not even a simon at all. Not a simon move up. It's not an irrefutable sign. It's not even a good identification. It's tefiyas ayin, what the Gemara calls, which the Gemara says only a rabbinical student or a rabbi can be trusted for tefiyas ayin, because rabbis and rabbinical students don't lie. They're learning Torah all day. They're very afraid to lie. That's why they're machmer and all these different things. And the last thing they do is going to lie. They're not going to be makel and say, oh, it belongs to this person, not to that person, unless they're absolutely sure. That's why we trust them like tefiyas ayin. But every other people, who don't take life so seriously, if it looks like it, they're not so reliable unless you have a good identifying mark. Now, if you have a really good identifying mark, the Gemara says simon muvak, everyone's believed that's doraisa, it works for gittin. Makiro probably means a regular simon. Now, the problem is that the Gemara says a machlokes. We're not sure. Is simonim doraisa, simonim d'rabbanan? The Gemara B'Metzia, I think, has the maskana the simonim is doraisa. So Rashi could be playing with that maskana in Bava Metzia, and our Mishnah would be saying that thing. If you have a simon, it's kosher, right? Let's say the Gemara says you have a hole in the get, and not every get, most gittin don't have a hole, but if this has a hole, you identify it. You weren't able to say the hole is right next to this so-and-so letter. That's a simon move, like everyone would believe. That wouldn't be, the Mishnah wouldn't need to say that. But the Mishnah could be taking aside that simonim doraisa. And that's what Rashi probably learns over here. Imakiro, if you recognize the get, you have a simon, because again, it's not only talking about a rabbinical student or a rabbi, it's talking about anybody. Imakiro, kosher, simonim doraisa. Now, the Rashba says that's not the explanation over here. He says, Imakiro is going back on chafisa or dluskam. It's talking about if you find it in your briefcase and you recognize the briefcase, right? You recognize the briefcase. Then you could assume it's your get. It's the right get. But if you do not recognize the briefcase, right? Someone else put the briefcase in the house. Maybe it was your friend who came over last night for dinner. He left his MRSA over there. He left his briefcase, his messenger bag. So if you don't recognize it, so then you can't use it again. But if you recognize it, that's okay. Even if it was a long time, 3-4 days, it's fine. Now, obviously, this is the presentation of the Rashba, and the Ritva, and the Ran all say this. They argue on Rashi. Now, presumably you'd like to say like this, that Rashi holds simonim is doraisa. That's what the Mishnah say, makiro kosher. And the Rashba and the Ran would say, no, it's not conclusive whether simonim is doraisa. They would actually paskin simonim is derabanan. That's why makiro by itself, you recognize the get, that it has a hole in it, is not good enough. Simanim is darabana. And we come out of machlokas over here. Really, we're coming out of machlokas rishonim. Rashi says Simanim doraisa. From this Mishnah, the Stam Mishnah, Simanim doraisa. The Rashba and the Ran and the Ritva, most rishonim say Simanim is darabana. So why is it better according to the Rashba and the Ritva and the Ran? Why is it better if you recognize your briefcase than recognizing the get? The answer is obvious, because people recognize their own possessions much more than a thing that doesn't belong to them. Remember, this person's a shliach la'alacha. He's bringing a get from a man, the husband, to he hasn't seen this get too much. It's a document, a piece of paper. He's not paying attention too much. His own briefcase, he knows what his own briefcase looks like. So if there's a hole in a briefcase, right, it's his briefcase. It's in his house. It's his briefcase. He recognizes his briefcase. So even if simanim ba'almas derabanan on a lost object that you aren't familiar with, a familiar object, everyone agrees simanim deraisa. So therefore, even if you want to say the halakha is like the Rashba and the Ritva and the Ran, that a siman on a lost object never belong to you. You're not sure who it belongs to, right? Should I give it back to this person who claims it or not? That might be derabanan. It could be that's derabanan. But we conclude from the Mishnah, according to the Rashba, the Ritva, and the Ran, is that an object that you're familiar with, and you have two things, you're familiar with it, and you have a siman, it has a hole in it, that could be trustworthy for anybody. Anybody could be trusted to say, right, it's my briefcase. Obviously, if it's my briefcase, it must be the document that I was taking, it must be the document that I was bringing to the woman to give her the get. So therefore, we come out with a conclusion over here, and I believe the halacha, it makes more sense to me, makiro, right, according to Rashi, it should say ve'imakiro, o imakiro, right? It's a little strange according to Rashi how you read it. So therefore, I start like the Ritva and the Rashba and the Ran, that we conclude simanim is derabana. Really, simanim is not valid doraisa, but it is valid doraisa if you're familiar with the object. If it's in your briefcase, then simanim would be doraisa, because we're talking about simanim, an identification marker, something familiar to you that's in yours, in your possession. So then we could rely on it that the get inside was the get that you were delivering. So that's the conclusion we can take la halacha from this Mishnah. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.